Most men believe that going down on a woman is purely about technique. They think it's about knowing the right moves, the perfect rhythm, or some secret trick that guarantees pleasure. But here's the truth that often goes unnoticed. Even the best technique can completely fall apart if certain fundamental mistakes are being made. Have you ever found yourself in that situation? You're in an intimate moment. You feel confident. You believe you know exactly what you're doing, and yet something feels off. She's not responding the way you expected. There's no deep connection, no growing intensity, no sense that she's fully immersed in the experience. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. The reality is, many men unknowingly make small mistakes that create a disconnect instead of deepening intimacy. And today we're going to explore 5 of those mistakes, things women rarely say out loud but deeply feel. By the end of this, you'll understand how to transform the experience from something she passively accepts into something she genuinely craves, remembers, and emotionally connects with. And pay close attention because mistake number 3 is often the biggest hidden reason why pleasure decreases instead of increasing, and most men don't even realize they're doing it. Let's begin with the first mistake. This is something almost every man does without realizing it, and it's one of the fastest ways to create emotional and physical disconnection. Imagine this for a moment. You go for a massage. You're expecting relaxation, maybe even the best massage of your life. But the therapist only focuses on one small spot on your back over and over again. No variation, no exploration, just the same motion in the same place. At first, it might feel okay, but after a while, it becomes repetitive. It loses its effect. The experience stops feeling immersive. That's exactly what happens when all the focus is placed on just one area of a woman's body. Many men assume that direct attention equals maximum pleasure. But for women, connection isn't isolated. It's holistic. When the rest of the body is ignored, the experience becomes limited, and more importantly, disconnected. A woman's body responds to presence, to attention, to a sense that she is being experienced as a whole, not just a single point of focus. When you slow down and involve her entire body, her shoulders, her waist, her thighs, her back, you create something much deeper than just physical sensation. You create awareness. You create relaxation. You create emotional openness. And that's where real pleasure begins. Because when her body relaxes, her mind follows. And when her mind feels safe and engaged, everything becomes more intense, more meaningful, and more connected. Now let's move to mistake number 2. And here's the surprising part. It doesn't even start where most people think it does. It begins before any physical intimacy happens. Think about cooking a perfect meal. You don't just throw everything into a pan and expect it to turn out amazing. There's preparation, there's timing, there's build-up. The same principle applies here. Many men rush into the physical aspect too quickly, skipping the emotional and psychological build-up that is absolutely essential for a woman's experience. For most women, desire doesn't just switch on. It builds, it grows, it responds to anticipation. The mind is the starting point. The way you speak, the way you look at her, the energy you bring into the moment, all of it shapes how she feels before anything physical even begins. When you take time to create that build-up through subtle words, gentle touch, presence, you're not just preparing her body, you're awakening her senses. You're allowing anticipation to grow. And anticipation is powerful. It creates tension. It creates curiosity. It creates a sense of longing. So when the physical moment finally arrives, it's not rushed, it's desired. And that changes everything. Now let's talk about mistake number 3. This is the one that often has the biggest impact, yet goes completely unnoticed. Many men assume that increasing speed or intensity will automatically increase pleasure. It sounds logical, right? More energy, more movement, more action, it should lead to a stronger response. But in reality, it often does the opposite. For many women, pleasure builds gradually. It's not about sudden intensity. It's about progression. When things move too fast, too soon, it can feel overwhelming rather than enjoyable. It interrupts the natural rhythm of the body. Instead of building anticipation, it skips over it. Imagine listening to a song that jumps straight to the loudest, most intense part without any buildup. It loses its emotional impact because there's no journey. The same applies here. When you slow down, when you allow the moment to unfold naturally, when you pay attention to her responses, you create a rhythm that feels organic. You begin to understand what works, what doesn't, what she responds to. And that awareness is far more powerful than any fixed technique, because it's not about doing more, it's about feeling more. Now let's explore mistake number 4. This one is based on a very common misconception. Many men believe that focusing on one specific area is the key to maximum pleasure. And while that area is indeed important, over-focusing on it can actually reduce the overall experience. Think of it like this. Imagine being served an incredible meal, but you're only allowed to eat one dish. No variety, no contrast, no layers. Even if that one dish is amazing, the experience feels incomplete. Pleasure works in a similar way. It's not just about intensity. It's about variation. It's about contrast. It's about the combination of sensations that creates something richer and more immersive. When you explore different areas, different types of touch, different rhythms, you create a dynamic experience, something that evolves rather than stays static. And that evolution is what keeps the experience engaging, exciting, and deeply satisfying. Finally, let's talk about mistake number 5. This is the one that often gets completely overlooked, that has one of the biggest emotional impacts. It's what happens after. Many men focus entirely on the act itself, thinking that once it's over, the moment is complete. But for women, that's not the end of the experience. It's actually a very sensitive and important phase. After an intense emotional and physical moment, there's a natural shift in the body. There's a need for calm, for closeness, for reassurance. This is where connection deepens. When you stay present, when you offer warmth, when you allow the moment to settle, you're reinforcing something much more meaningful than just physical pleasure. You're creating emotional safety. You're showing that the connection didn't end, it evolved. And that's what makes the experience memorable. Because people don't just remember what happened, they remember how they felt afterward. So when you bring all of this together, something powerful happens. You move away from thinking in terms of technique, and you begin to understand the importance of presence, awareness, and connection. Because at the end of the day, it's not about performing. It's about creating an experience where she feels seen, an experience where she feels understood, an experience where she feels connected, not just physically, but emotionally. And that's what transforms everything. Not just the moment, but the relationship as a whole.